Hello everybody, welcome to Art and Design. My name is Thorgeir, and in this video we're going to be doing a complete guide to Photoshop on the iPad. Let's check it out. Okay, just wanted to let you know, this video is split up into sections. So if at any point you want to skip to a particular section that you find interesting, then you can go ahead and check out the description for more information. But let's start now with the first part of Photoshop, which is the landing page that you'll be greeted with, this page right here. Now this is the home page of Photoshop. And there are a couple of things that you can do here. Main thing that you want to be doing is creating a new document. And that's this button right here. And I'll get to that in just a few moments, but let's start by just talking about the home screen right here, what options we have on the home screen. Starting off from the top left right here, we have home, which is currently selected. And this is the view for that. We can go to your work, and this is where documents are stored. And you can, switch the views right here to see a list view and see how many megabytes each document is. You can go into your deleted folders and sort things and arrange things the way that you want. Now, your work, this is actually your cloud documents. So whatever I have saved on my cloud documents on my PC is available here. So if I start drawing something from my PC, it's going to automatically sync into this folder right here. Just make sure that the file itself has been synced with the cloud document on your PC. And the same goes if you create something on your iPad, it's going to sync automatically to your PC. The actions that you can take on each document is available right here from the three dots. You can tap on that and you can rename, duplicate, or delete. So that is pretty much the extent of this view right here. Now, the next tab over here called Learn, this is a very nice thing that Photoshop has. It has interactive tours of the program. So if, for example, I tap on this one right here, Photoshop Interactive Tour, it's going to open up a document for me with an in-product onboarding guide, how to use the program. So you can see what's new here with this button right here, save and share. There's this one right here. And, you get the gist of it. It shows you with nice little animations right here, what all of these things do and how you can interact with things. Just a very nice way to explore Photoshop on your own. So if you're unsure about what some of these buttons do, then I would highly recommend you take this interactive tour. This is a very nice page that you can access to understand how to use the program. So an interactive tour, we can also click on this one right here and see how layer masking is done. So it's going to tell us how to do layer masking. And over here we have some curated video tutorials about how to use the program and how to do specific techniques. So this is very, very nice that this is integrated directly into the program. Now, the next thing, discover. What is this all about? Well, it's discovering things that you didn't know about before. Things like live streams, people who are live streaming Photoshop right now. So you can follow along with these artists, interact with them, and you can ask them questions about how they do the things that they do and all that. So that is very nice. If we move down a little bit, we see some projects that have been created using Adobe Photoshop. This is just very, very talented people showing off their work. And on the bottom left over here, we have the Create New, which we talked about. I'm not going to be tapping on that just yet, but below that we have Import and Open, and this is basically where you can import a photo and start working on that photo directly. You can import documents from your files, from your iCloud, so you can do that right here, or take a picture directly from the camera and start working on that right away. Now to the top right. So here we have a little icon showing a little cloud. And this just tells us that we're online. If something is syncing, so if something is downloading to the iPad or uploading from the iPad, the icon right here is going to indicate what it's doing, and you can tap on it to see if it's uploading or downloading. So maybe don't turn off your iPad if this is currently syncing. And to the right of that, we have the settings, and obviously here we can control the settings of the program, how it behaves, how it looks like. You can turn it to light. I don't like that. I prefer dark. And if your entire Photoshop settings have gone awry, then you can restore the app defaults right here. Moving on to the input right here, we can control things like double tap. This is when you double tap the Apple Pencil. If you don't like the gesture that is bound to that, you can just turn that off like so. You can control the pressure sensitivity. So if you have a very heavy hand, you can play around with this, or a very light hand. All sorts of stuff here. if you want to enable or disable touch shortcuts or enable stylus only painting. I like to have this enabled because if I accidentally touch the screen, it's not going to leave a mark. So here you can see the version of your Photoshop and yeah, a few other things here. And finally, you have the help section right here where you can check out what the gestures do, what the touch shortcuts are, keyboard shortcuts, things like this. That's all from the help right here. All right, so now we have pretty much gone over the entire home screen area right here. And the next thing that we're going to be talking about is this thing right here, create new. And when I tap on that, we are greeted by the new document dialog. And this is where you can control everything about the document that you're going to be creating. Things like the size of it, the units that you're going to be working with. So if you're going to be working with pixels or inches or centimeters or millimeters or points. Here we have the document name. You can name it whatever you want. Whatever. So now we have a document called whatever, and it's this aspect ratio right here. Here is the pixels per inch or pixels per centimeter. So basically what this does, it tells the program how many pixels to put into an area. So if you have an inch, how many pixels should be in this inch? And if you have this number very high, then you're going to have a lot of pixels contained in 1 inch. That's going to make the document much bigger. It's going to take up more space on your iPad. And if you have it very low, then you're going to have low resolution of your final image. So I'm not going to dive too much into this in this video, but let me know in the comments down below if you want to see a video specifically about something like this. I might consider this in the future. Background contents, white, black, transparent. Basically what color you want the background to be. Okay, so do you need to configure this manually every time? Well, no. You can, of course, just tap on, any print size right here. So if you have an A4 paper that you're going to be printing on, or A3 or something like this, you can just tap on that, any of these sizes that come with the program right here. And obviously we have some more options right here. Some iPhone templates, some Mac templates, iPad, watches, stuff like that. Film and video, that's all here. But I'm just going to tap on 1080p for now, and let's go ahead and create our first document. All right, welcome to the drawing interface. So this is where most of the magic happens. Let's just start by talking about how you navigate this thing. Let's just draw something on the canvas right here so we have some reference. And just like pretty much every other iPad program, you can pinch to zoom, things like this. You can rotate. So if you want to get this contour right here, you can just zoom in and rotate to this very nicely and fluently. You can use 2 fingers to move around on the canvas, and this pretty much gives you all of the freedom that you need in order to move around to navigate the canvas. And if you did enable the double tapping on the Apple Pencil, then you can do this to go back to the original scale. So if you want to get a sort of overview of what you just did, you're working on the very fine details, and you just want to zoom all the way out and back in, just double tap. Okay, looks good. Let's continue. So you've seen me draw this thing right here, and that's using the brush right here. You can pick any brush that you want. Unfortunately for me, there is currently a bug in my Photoshop application. I'm trying to work this out with customer support, and it's a nice segue to say, if you have a problem with Photoshop, then go ahead and contact the Adobe support. I'll leave a link in the description. Their job is to help you figure things out and help you, if something breaks. But on the topic of brushes, we have some menus right here. You can actually detach this section right here. I'll just do that in order to get a glimpse of what this does. So here we can pick between the primary and the secondary color, and we can very easily switch these like so. Tap on the color itself and you can choose the specific color, the hue of the color right here, and brightness and darkness of the color, and the saturation of the color. Highest saturated, brightest, you get the idea. The color picker is also located right here, so we have access to that right there. You can pick any color that you have on the canvas. Let me just go to a bit busier canvas right here. Let's pick this orange color right here. Now we can just start drawing with orange. Now, I didn't want to do this, so I'm going to undo this, and that's pretty simple. Use 2 fingers to undo, 3 fingers to redo. The rest of the gestures you can access here. Tap on this and you can see what all the gestures do. 2 fingers, undo, 3 fingers, redo, move tool options. So this is basically what we did here. So moving things around like this. Long pressing on any of the tools right here will reveal more options. So if we tap and hold on the eraser, we can see all the brushes in the eraser, but again, I have a problem with this. So we can tap on another tool, and here we see we can create a gradient or the bucket tool. And the final ones we covered, you can move around, you can pinch to zoom, you can quickly pinch together to fit to the view, or you can also double tap on the Apple Pencil. And apparently you can double tap to view at 100%. That doesn't really happen for me, but all right. But again, going back to the brush right here, we talked about the colors, how to pick the colors. You can also control the size of the brush by using this one right here, and the opacity of the brush. That's it with this one right here. And if we tap on the 3 dots right here, we have access to some basic brush settings. Things like the blend mode, the roundness of the brush, the angle, flow of the brush, smoothing, pressure, sensitivity, or using pressure for opacity. Hopefully we'll see more options here in the future, but for now, this is what we have access to. Okay, so we talked about the brushes. Now, Photoshop is not all about just drawing. It's about composing. It's about blending. It's about mixing, masking, using image effects, doing all sorts of things to create photos that are stunning. Now, let's take a look at the Move tool right here. And as you can see, I can move this layer around. Now, the reason why I can move this layer around is because it is a separate layer right here. If I select another layer, I can move that layer around. Now, let's say that you want to move something in a straight line. So, for example, I don't want her to be right here. I want it to be centered like she is, but I want her to be a little bit further down. So in order to move her just down, I can tap on her like so, and then hold this button right here. And now I'm only moving her on this axis right here. And if I let go and move her in this direction, you can see now I'm moving her in this axis. This just affects the tool that you have selected. So it's going to do different things depending on the tool that you have selected. And you can learn all about what the options do right here. That's all contained here, the touch shortcuts. Now let's move on because we have a lot to talk about. The next tool is this one right here. And this basically allows us to, resize the object, and skew the object like so, or transform it and morph it in whatever ways we need. And using the transform tool, we can also flip the layer vertically and horizontally like so. Tapping on this one gives us access to the rotation angle. So if you want to rotate, you can find that little icon right there at the bottom, and that allows you to rotate it. You have to use this thing right here. And if you want a specific angle, you can tap it in and write it right there. Let's click on done right now and talk about the selection tool. So let's talk about the selection tool. Yes. All right. Now I'm going to delete this mask right here because you see we have this white area right here, and we want to mask it out in order to be able to see the flowers in front and the woman in the back. So the way we do that, we can either use the lasso tool and try to get the outlines like so. It's just going to take a while and not really all that effective. The beautiful thing about Photoshop is that it has all of these selection options. So pretty much what we can do is tap on, for example, this one, and we just draw, and it's going to try to figure out what it is that we're trying to select, and it's going to automatically select that for us. We do the same thing for example, this flower, but just start drawing on that flower. You see, now we have that flower selected, and it didn't select the green flower. So it's really good at helping with the selection process. Obviously, it's not perfect, as we can see right here, but if you're not happy with the selection, you can always go into the More option right here and click on Refine Edge. And with the Refine Edge, you have a lot more options. I'm not going to be able to talk about all of these options in this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more videos about Photoshop on the iPad and what specifically you want to learn about. But just very briefly, you can control the brush size right here, and you can decide if you want to add or remove from the selection. So in this case, I think I want to add, yes. And now I'm basically just drawing in the area that I want to add to it. All right, so once we're happy with the selection, we should be able to click on done, right? Interesting, I had to move something in this settings right here in order to be able to click done. And now I can just tap on the mask button right here. And now I've masked out this area. But the mask is the opposite, it's incorrect. So with the mask selected right here, we go into this menu right here and we tap on invert. The sky has now been hidden. Now we did this on purpose right here, just for illustration purposes. It's not supposed to look like this, but you get the idea. This is how you can use masking and selection in order to remove backgrounds and, do all sorts of cool stuff. Now, another thing that I really want to talk about in this menu right here is the select subject. And this is a super, super powerful feature. Now, if you're just trying to remove a background from a portrait image, for example, you can do that very easily. So let me just add a photo right here. Let's pick this one. I was trying to create a thumbnail. Okay, so we've imported this image by tapping on here and going into photos. And I'm going to select just me, and the way that I do that is I go into the lasso tool right here, click on select subject, and it's going to simply select the subject. Now, it's not perfect. It actually selected the chair right here, but that's something you can fix in post. You can mask this out and then just refine the edge or use the refine edge functionality right here. I love this feature because it just makes selecting subjects so incredibly easy. If you want to learn more about the select subject or the selection tools in Photoshop, let me know in the comments down below. I might do a video about that later. Okay, so we talked about the move tool, the transform tool, the selection tool. We've mentioned the brushes and talked about those. The eraser tool pretty much works exactly like the brushes, but it just erases. You can also erase with a brush a specific texture. So that's pretty cool. We have the bucket tool. The bucket tool pretty much just fills in any area. So if you create a new layer, for example, right here, and I just do a very simple selection, tap on the bucket tool, and I can fill it in like so, very quickly. Do that. And if we're happy with that, we can deselect it like so, and now we have the selection filled out. Now, let's say that I didn't want to do a fill, I actually wanted a gradient. That's this button right here. And it's going to use the primary and the secondary color to adjust the gradient. So let's just draw a simple gradient from here to there. Pretty good. So we see blue as the starting point, white is the ending point. So very nice if you want to create very simple shapes and then just do the gradient. Let's change the color to pink. And then, you could choose brush and just add a texture to it. Maybe you can, select this layer, create a mask on top of the layer, invert this mask so it's showing. And if we paint now with black on this mask, we hide non-destructively. And you can use a better brush than I'm using right here in order to create some nice textures. So, something like this. Oh yeah, and you don't need to tap and select the size of the brush right here. You can also just tap and hold on it, like so. Very nice. And if you want an exact size, you can tap and hold on it and just say 50. I want the brush to be 50 size, and that's that. All right, now let's bring back the image right here, and let me talk about the next tool in the list right here, which is this spot healing brush. So basically what this does is it can allow you to remove imperfections in the skin, or if you want to replace an object that is in the scene. Let's say that I don't want the camera to be there. I could just select the layer first, to select the layer, then just paint over the section that you want to remove. So let's just go ahead and remove all of this and see what it does. Not perfect, but it's maybe a little bit challenging for the program to know what to do. It's better. So maybe, yeah, you can play around with this, and if you want to remove blemishes or imperfections or things like that, You can easily do that. If you can go crazy, remove the eyes. That's not creepy at all. Anyways, the spot dealing brush, really nice to quickly get rid of something that is in your image that you don't want there. Next things up is this tool right here. It's the clone stamp tool. So what you do is you use the secondary button right here and you select an area that you want to copy. So let's copy the eyes and let's give me the third eye. So now I can just draw like so, just drawing exactly this. Pretty cool. Moving on to the crop, we can resize the canvas like so, and let's do something like this. And you can rotate the canvas if it's just a little bit skewed. Let's do it like this. So if you want specific increments, this option to snap rotate. And this probably also works with the transform tool right here. So if you want to snap rotate the layer, and you can also use the secondary button right there. Try out the secondary button for all sorts of things. You can also reposition it, so if you're left-handed, you can have it here or here. Moving on, we can do text, and here we have all of the text options. I'm not going to be able to talk about all of this in this video. There's so many options right here. Increase the font size, pick from any of the fonts over here. And then we have the picture frame right here, which is importing a photo or file or something from the library into your document. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You add photos or files from your iCloud, you can just add that into your document. All right, so that is the end of this list right here. We talked about these two here at the bottom, and I think it's time to move on to the right side of the interface. If you're still with me, awesome. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate that. Let's move on to talk about the layers. So here we have actually two different ways of looking at the layers. This is the more compact view. It's just a nice compact view of your layers. You can look at the mask right here by swiping on the layer. But if you want a more detailed view, you can tap on this one right here. And here you can also access the names of the layers. So double tap on them to change the name. So scribble this away and name this what? Because I don't know what this is. And the options right here are pretty simple. You can hide the layer, reveal the layer, and rename the layer. So are these the only actions and options that you have available for the layers? Well, no, that is where this icon right here comes in. If you tap on that, you see the layer properties. And here we can change things like the opacity of the layer. So click on this layer right here. We can change the opacity. We can change the blend mode, how the layer interacts. We can add an adjustment layer as well. So if we tap on this one right here, and let's go ahead and add, color balance. And let's just go ahead and change the color of this layer right here. So this is now an adjustment layer on top of this image right here. And the beautiful thing about this is you can add even more. You can add curves as well. You can boost the highlights and the shadows. You can add even more, add some vibrance to it as well. And this all gets applied as clipping masks onto this layer. I'll talk about clipping masks a little bit, but if you want to see a separate video about this process and how you can use this process in order to make your images absolutely fantastic, then let me know in the comments down below if you want to see a video about that. Let's now talk about the effects. Well, this feature isn't supported yet. This is probably coming in the future. If you're watching this in the future, it might be worth checking out if this feature is available to you. All right, so now I've talked about the layer properties. Now what happens if I tap on one of these layers right here and you see that little icon right there? It's like an arrow pointing downwards. What happens if I tap on this thing right here? You see there's also an arrow pointing downwards. Well, let's try it. See the difference? So basically what we did here is we removed the clipping mask from these layers. So now instead of these layers only affecting this layer right here, which is at the bottom of the arrow, like these arrows are pointing at the lowest layer below them. Instead of that being the case, they are now applying over the entire image. So you can go into the layer properties right now and you should be able to change the colors of pretty much everything here. So that's how you can utilize clipping masks for layers and create adjustment layers. There's so many possibilities, and I'm not going to be able to talk about all of these in this video. The last thing to mention is the 3 dots, and here we have the layer actions. So we talked about the layer properties, the properties of the layer, how it looks, how it interacts, what the opacity of the layer is, and all that sort of stuff. And this one right here are the actions that you can take on the layer. So you can lock the layer, you can delete the layer, you can rename the layer, you can add clipped adjustment, you can begin multi-select. So if you want to select many layers at once, you can do so very simply like so. And let's say that you want to add them into a new layer group. So just tap and hold on this, create a new layer group. Actually, we have to reselect the layers, but we do that, we tap and hold, and we move it into this group. So now all of these layers are within this group, very neatly organized. We can turn off this entire group or show this entire group like so. Very, very nice. So, and the multi-select mode, and now everything's back to normal. Now another way to multi-select is also swiping to the right on the layers like so, and then you can, for example, tap on here and you should be able to merge these layers if they are all visible. Merge the layers. You can also duplicate the group or the layer depending on what you have selected. You can copy the layer, you can select everything, and you can load as selection. So if you want to select just this right here, the orange part of the circle, you can tap on 3 dots right there, load as selection, and now you see we've selected only this orange part, which is the contents of this layer. And now I'm going to quickly talk about these menus right here. If we tap and hold on this, we can create a new layer, create an adjustment layer, which we just talked about. You can just create this separately and it won't be applied as a clipping mask. And you can create a group. So if you want to group your layers together, you can do that using this. Just tap and hold, you can access that, right? You can also paste as new layer. So you have a selection that you have selected, you tap and hold on this and paste as a new layer, and it's going to paste that and create a new layer from that selection. This icon, you've seen this also shown right here, just hides the layer. And then we have the mask. So if you have a selection like so, and we tap on the mask, now we've added a mask on top of this layer. Very quickly, masks hide things or show things depending on how you use them. If you remove something from the image, you can always bring it back, because you just do white and then you paint with white on the image, and you see none of the information is lost because we just masked it away. And we can also hide it again, show it again, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's non-destructive. Well, if we use the eraser tool on the layer and we remove something from it, now this is destructive. Now we can't really bring this back. So that's why masks are so important. Now let's move on from the masking and talk about this icon right here again. And I'm going to show you what happens if I use this image, this one right here, and use that as a clipping mask on top of this image, the woman itself, the outlines of the woman. Let's try that out. So first, I select this image and I tap on the clipping mask. And now you can see wherever there is information on this layer, this image is only going to show there. So if I move it around, you can see it's using the outlines of this layer as the template for where this is going to be showing. So a fantastic tool, clipping masks. All right, we're almost getting to the end right now. If you're still with me, fantastic, good on you. You deserve a medal. Here's the medal. You can show this to your county sheriff and they'll be super impressed because you made it this far into the video. So yeah, let's talk about this icon right here. This is the filters and adjustment. We can apply a Gaussian blur and invert the layer. If we invert it, we see all of the colors that have been flipped. And the other option is Gaussian blur, and you can increase the blur amount. gonna move this right here so I can blur the image very easily, like so. And that is pretty much the extent of the filters and adjustments that we have access to in this version of Photoshop. Obviously in the future there's going to be more options available to you, but for now only these two options. For the final section, we have these icons in the top. Over here we have the settings. This is document properties. Check out the image size, and I think we can resize it. Yes, we have also this button right here, and that allows us to take a look at the tutorials, the tours, the gestures, the touch shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts, all that sort of stuff. You can share this document, export it. You know, it's very easy to start a live stream as well. So that's pretty cool. It's implemented directly into the program. If you want to export this directly into Procreate, you can very quickly go ahead and publish and export. We can do PSD, and then we're going to select Procreate from the list right here. It's going to send to Procreate. And now when we open up Procreate, it's going to import. And now we have the picture in Procreate. So with all the layers, with all the groups, everything maintained, pretty awesome. We can make any adjustments that we want here, draw with our favorite brushes. Once we're done, we can just send this back to Photoshop. And that's a fantastic thing, because some things Photoshop is really good at, some things Procreate is really good at. But that is going to do it for this video. I want to thank you all very much for watching. Do leave a like on this video if it helped you out. It really helps this video out and the channel. And if you want to see more content from this channel, then do click that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.